In this session, we'll discuss about JavaScript executor. JavaScript executor. So what is JavaScript executor? So first let us understand why we need this, and before this we need some knowledge. Like for example, so how are we writing the scripts till now? Like we are writing scripts, automation scripts using Selenium WebDriver, right? So say for example, this is my WebDriver and we are automating the browser, the action from the browser, right? Say for example, this is our this is our browser, and this is our WebDriver. We are writing scripts and these are getting executed on the browser, right? But in between, like internally what's happening here is there is something called, so the, internally the JavaScript actually executes, the WebDriver commands are converted into JavaScript, and then the actual JavaScript will be interacting, he is controlling the browser. JavaScript actually controls the browser, meaning like browser is written in HTML, CSS, right? So that can be actually, controlled by this JavaScript. So whenever we write this JavaScript WebDriver command, right? So that will be executed by JavaScript, and then the JavaScript reads those commands, and this JavaScript actually controls these elements. So we'll have HTML, CSS, right here. So browser is written mostly in HTML, CSS, and other JavaScript frameworks, right? So this commands, right? So WebDriver commands are converted to our so whenever we write the WebDriver command to interact with the browser, right? So on the browser element, so the JavaScript internally will be called, and it actually controls this HTML element. So what we are doing here, we are directly using WebDriver. So we are not directly interacting with JavaScript, but indirectly JavaScript actually interacts with the browser, right? So JavaScript actually is controlling the browser, right? So in some cases, what happens is, so we are using WebDriver to automate the web elements on the web page. That is fine. Like we automated input fields, radio buttons, checkbox, web table, and so on, right? Using the WebDrivers. That is fine. So internally, JavaScript executes those, and we don't need to even know about that, right? We didn't know till now. But sometimes there could be some situations where, the elements might be overlapped, right? So overlap in the sense, like say for example, you have some input field here, right? This is your input field. So this input field might be overlapped with some other window. So some other window or some other text which overlays on this input field, right? So in that case, Selenium can't interact with this element, the actual input text field. So in that case, it will say element intercepted exception. It will throw element intercepted exception because it was not able to interact with the actual element, because some other window or some other pop-up actually overlaid on this actual text field. So in that case, Selenium WebDriver has no clue how to interact with the input field, actual input field. So it will just throw element intercepted exception. So it will throw element intercepted exception. In such cases, how do we actually, but still we wanted to automate it. Say for example, even this could be a button as well, right? So I just gave an example as input field. So this could even be a button as well. So it could be a button. So even this button, if something is overlaid on it, right? So in that case also, Selenium can't actually click on it. So input field, we can't actually use the sendKeys method if something is overlaid on the field. If button, we can't click on it, right? We can't click on this button if something is overlaid on this button. So in that case, how do we actually interact with the elements? So in that case, Like WebDriver is not able to handle those type of actions when something is overlaid, right? Or there could be some scenarios where some elements will be hidden. The elements will be there on the web page, but you can't see that. But you somehow you wanted to interact with those elements, hidden elements. So in that case, so how do you interact? WebDriver only can interact with if something is visible on the web page, right? Only then we can interact with that web elements. So in some cases, we'll even see that case now. So hidden page will be there, right? So in hidden elements will be there in the web page. So in that case, how do we interact with these web elements? So all these are challenges, right? So in that case, we directly use JavaScript executor. So we'll use JavaScript. We'll work on the at the level of JavaScript and actually control the actions on the browser. So we'll use JavaScript. So there is a interface provided by Selenium called JavaScript executor, which we can use, and we can directly use that JavaScript executor to interact with the browser. So in that case, we are not working on the UI level. That is, we are not working on the user interface level, but we'll go at the backend level. Backend in the sense, whatever UI is present, right? So browser. So if you take any browser, right, it is driven by the script. Okay, for example, inspect. So this is all the script, right? So you can see this is all the script. So this browser is driven by this script. So according to this script, the browser has been displayed here, right? So we are gonna control that. Like we'll be working at that level to control or provide the instructions to the browser to interact with the browser. That way we are like not dependent on the elements which are displayed on the UI, right? Yeah. So that's the main usage of JavaScript, right? JavaScript executor. We'll call it as JavaScript executor. Now let us see the hierarchy of JavaScript executor. We said JavaScript executor is an interface. So you can see WebDriver, we have discussed about this WebDriver, right? So what is WebDriver? WebDriver is an interface. So such context is an interface actually. So WebDriver is extending such context. And this WebDriver interface is inherited by, or sorry, is implemented by a class called remote WebDriver. So remote WebDriver is a class which implemented WebDriver interface. This we know. And all the browsers which wanted to actually implement WebDriver was extending the remote WebDriver. So indirectly, all these classes like Internet Explorer or Edge, you can just replace it with Edge, Firefox, Chromium, all these drivers. Each driver is representing one browser, right? So these are classes actually. These are extending this remote WebDriver class. And remote WebDriver class is implementing this WebDriver interface. This we have known till now, right? So along with that, remote WebDriver is also implemented JavaScript executor. So there is another interface called JavaScript executor where remote WebDriver also implemented this JavaScript executor. There is another interface called take screenshot. So remote WebDriver also implemented take screenshot. So we can actually implement more than one interface in Java, right? So here remote WebDriver is a class which is implementing more than one interface. This is possible, right? Multiple inheritance is supported in Java for interfaces. So remote WebDriver is a child and it has three parents, but these are interfaces. So this is possible. This is called multiple inheritance. If you remember, we discussed this when we were discussing inheritance concept in Java, right? So this is remote WebDriver. It's a class which is implementing these three interfaces. All right. We know it is a, it is implemented WebDriver and we have seen examples on this, right? Now we will discuss more on JavaScript executor. So remote WebDriver is also implemented JavaScript executor. So JavaScript executor is an interface, right? So just remember this now. Now we'll go back. We'll see an example and we'll see how do we actually create an instance. You can't create an instance for the JavaScript executor, right? So because this is an interface. So we will see how we are gonna create the JavaScript executor reference variable and how we interact with the elements. So let us take an example for that and understand. So this is what I was referring to. So if I see this login button, right? So if I click on this username, so there are some usernames, right? Now, if I wanted to click on the login button, is that visible on the web page? Is that visible on the web page? No, no, right? So in this case, so this drop down of username is actually overlapping the login button. In this case, if you call the WebDriver element, if you inspect the login button and you try to click on it, so as this drop down is overlapping that login button, so you can't interact with that login button, right? So that's what we mean by overlapping. Now let me give you some other example. Now, say for example, I wanted to interact with this. So mainly this JavaScript executor, right? So we will work on it for interception, like we have seen, right? I have shown you a button example, right? So in the same way, like even in the same example, you can even see this part, like password, right? So if I click on username, even password is overlap, right? So mainly we will be using this for the when we are providing the input text, input fields, that is text fields, and also click, that is buttons. Button, we also use click method for radio buttons, right? So radio buttons, checkboxes, login buttons, all these kind of interactions. Whenever we wanted to interact with these kind of web elements, right? So we usually get element intercepted exception, right? So in that case, we will be using JavaScript executor. If you are directly able to use the sendKeys and click method, right, without any issue, then if you are not getting that exception, then you can use those. But if you have some issue like overlapping, right, some kind of pop-ups are actually covering those web elements, then web element can't interact directly with those web elements. In that case, we have an alternative called JavaScript executor. We can use this JavaScript executor to interact with the in that particular case, we can interact with the web elements using JavaScript executor. Now, if you see this, so what I wanted to do here is, I just wanted to, one second, I just wanted to interact with these fields, right? So this is a simple form. It has first name, last name, right? Say, for example, this is an input field where we can directly interact with it. Just assume that I have some problem interacting with this web element called first name, right? And I wanted to enter some text into this. So I'm not able to use sendKeys. Just assume like that. Now, how do we actually interact with this input text and provide some text into it? So that we'll see as an example, right? So for that, let's actually start automating it. So for today, I'll create a new package. I'll call it as day 34. Okay. We'll create a new class. We'll call it as script executor. Example one. We'll create a WebDriver instance. We'll instantiate it to Chrome driver, which actually launches the Chrome browser. All right, now we'll navigate to a particular URL. This particular URL, and then we'll maximize the window. All right. Now what we wanted to do, we wanted to interact with this input element, right? So we wanted to interact with this web element uh, called first name, right? So once you navigate to this page, so this is how it is. So we already have some text into it. So we'll first read this text. We'll also read this text, right? And then we'll modify this text of this element. So for this, what we usually do, we actually inspect this element, right? So like that, in the same way, we actually inspect it. We inspect it, right? And then we'll use this to actually read the value and also to actually set the value, right? So before that, first let's do that driver dot find element. So whenever you wanted to interact with the element, with any web element, we take the XPath of it, right? So I'm taking the XPath of it. So it's the ID. All right. So I'll just have this in some input field. I'll call it as some input field. Now, what we usually do, we call input field dot send keys, right? So now, say for example, so for some reason you are not able to actually use that send keys method. When you are using that, you are getting element intercepted exception, right? So in that case, so how do we actually handle that? So in that case, we'll use JavaScript executor. So how do you use it? Let me show you that. So JavaScript executor, we need to create a object for it and then equal to, we need to, so can we call new here, new JavaScript executor? We shouldn't, right? Because JavaScript executor is an interface. You can't create an object for the interface. So instead of that, what we can do is we can directly assign driver to it. So you need to import JavaScript executor from org.openqa dot execute JavaScript executor, right? Yeah, you can see org.openqa.selenium.javascript executor. All right. Now we can't create a separate object for JavaScript executor as it is an interface. Now what we are doing is instead of that, we are passing the driver instance to the assigning the WebDriver to the JavaScript executor. So, but is this possible? So it is throwing some exception, type mismatch. Cannot convert from WebDriver to JavaScript executor. We can't directly convert, we can't assign directly the WebDriver to the JavaScript executor, right? So we can't do that because those two are different interfaces altogether, right? WebDriver and JavaScript executor. They don't have any direct relationship, right? So in that case, what we can do, we can typecast it because, so if you observe, remote WebDriver is one class which is actually implementing these two WebDriver and JavaScript interfaces. All right. And what is Chrome driver? Chrome driver is the one which is actually extended remote WebDriver class, right? So indirectly, these have relationship. So if we have indirect relationship, if you remember, we can use the typecasting. You can typecast it. See, add cache to JavaScript executor. So we can typecast it, the WebDriver, and we can have it held in the reference variable of JavaScript executor, right? So this is possible because they have indirect relationship. And how did that get indirect relationship as? So because of the Chrome driver, right? So Chrome driver, if you see, it is actually extending the remote WebDriver. But remote WebDriver is implemented. So he implemented this WebDriver and JavaScript executor, right? So in this way, it has an indirect relationship. So we can actually typecache this WebDriver instance to the JavaScript executor. So we can use the typecasting here. Say, for example, I don't have this. I have Chrome driver like this, directly Chrome driver. I'm having a Chrome driver object itself, right? So in this case, do we need this JavaScript executor? Say, for example, JS equal to driver. Is this possible? Yes, right? So this is possible because this is a driver here is an instance of a Chrome driver class itself directly, right? And if you see, this has a direct relationship. Remote WebDriver is implemented JavaScript executor, right? And Chrome driver is extending remote WebDriver, meaning Chrome driver is also indirectly implemented JavaScript executor, right? Chrome driver also implemented JavaScript executor. So we can directly assign driver instance here. So it's an object. We can directly have it held in the reference variable of JavaScript executor because this has direct relationship. So Chrome driver here is actually implemented JavaScript executor. So we can have this like this, right? So the object of the child class can be held in the parent class reference variable. This we have seen. Again, this we have seen, right? When we are discussing Java concepts. This can be held, right? So this, in this case, you don't need the typecasting because it has a direct relationship, if you see, right? So as JavaScript executor is implemented by remote WebDriver and Chrome driver is extending remote WebDriver. So if it is extending, all the properties of remote WebDriver will be acquired by Chrome driver, right? So Chrome driver indirectly, it is also implemented JavaScript executor. So we can assign this object of Chrome driver directly onto the JavaScript executor reference variable. This is possible without any typecasting. Whereas this part, right, where we have, you need to understand this. So for this, you need thorough practice of Java concepts. So if you have practiced it, so you'll get it easily, right? So if you see this Chrome driver object, we actually had it in a reference variable of WebDriver. So WebDriver is another interface, right? So in this case, when we are actually assigning driver to the JavaScript executor, so this is not the reference of the direct class of JavaScript executor, right? Or direct, interface. So it is reference variable of some other interface, which has no relationship to the JavaScript executor. See, the only relationship we had was same class is implemented to both the interfaces. That's the only relation we can see. So this is the reason we definitely need to assign the type. We definitely need to do the typecasting. And this is upcasting, right? So we are assigning driver like parent to the child, right? So child to the parent. So it is a upcasting. All right. Now, so this is what we are gonna use it now. So WebDriver, driver equal to Chrome driver. This is nothing new to us. So here we are assigning driver to the JavaScript executor. This driver, WebDriver and JavaScript executor doesn't have no direct relationship. So we are typecasting it. So now we have a JavaScript executor reference variable. So using this, we can interact with the web elements directly, right? So usually we interact with the WebDriver. So that WebDriver we have actually typecasted and got it into a JavaScript executor reference variable. So why we are doing all this? So we wanted in some cases, so we can't directly interact with the web elements with the WebDriver commands. So due to different reasons, like the element could be overlap, the element could be hidden, right? The element might be disabled in some cases, right? But still, if you wanted to interact with such elements, right? So when we try to interact with such elements, Selenium WebDriver will throw an exception, element not interceptable, element interceptable exception, right? So in that case, we'll be using the JavaScript executor. So in that case, WebDriver will actually assign it to the JavaScript executor. Now we have a JavaScript executor reference variable, which we'll use directly, which we'll use to directly interact with the browser. Now we'll see how to do that. Say for example, I just wanted to get the title of the document. So we'll see simple first, simple example. And we do have execute script and execute async script. So for now, we'll see only execute script. So execute script, you can see. So we'll pass script as the first parameter and you can pass a number of arguments. So what is the script we will pass? So you need to write the script here, JavaScript, the actual script we need to provide here. I'll just say return document dot title. And the arguments are optional. It can have 0 or more number of arguments. So in this case, I'm just returning document.title. Document.title is a string object. So we can capture that into a string and we need to typecast it. So what is execute here? So execute is a method of JavaScript executor. So we'll be using execute. Execute is a method which actually executes the script, which we provide it as a parameter. Because we are not going to use a driver method here, right? So we are using JavaScript executor here, and using JavaScript executor, we will be executing some script internally, which is like directly interacting with the browser, right? So in the browser, so what we are doing, in the browser, web page is called as document. So document dot title. So this we are using, this script will be executed when we execute this program. So what happens is, and a reference variable of JavaScript executor is created, and this is used to execute the script. Execute script is a method which will execute the script. You pass it to it as a parameter, and this script will be executed on the web page, on the browser. So whenever web page, wherever we actually, you know, uh, on the browser, wherever we are actually having this URL, right? We are interacting with the web page. So on that web page, this script will be executed, right? And what we are doing here is an example, as a simple example, what we are executing, simple script, return document dot title. We can even get it using dot get that get title, right? So driver dot get title. We can use get title. So in the same way, like so, what's the internal JavaScript for that is return document dot title. Right now, let us see this. What's the title? So, what's my page title? I'm executing this now. We're just seeing a small example. Then we'll see how to interact with the web elements, input fields, and also button, hidden elements. We'll see one by one. I just navigated to some URL and I wanted to read the page title. So how do you get the page title? You can see here on the tab HTML forms, right? So that is the page title. Yeah. Yeah, you can see page title HTML forms, right? All right. So now we'll see a different example. So how do we actually interact with the input field? So we already have the input field first name. All right. Now we'll use this, and what we are going to do is, so we'll use JavaScript dot execute script. We'll take a different one now. Return arguments dot arguments of 0 dot value. What's the argument? Here we need to pass that argument. What is my argument? Input field is my argument. So this is like we are getting the title of the page, right? We got the title of the page here. All right. Now we are actually getting and setting the value of an input field. We'll also set the value for it. For now, get and set value of an input field. So we are getting the value of an input field. So how we are reading the value of the input field? So if you see here, it already has some pre-populated text into the input field. This I wanted to read it. So how we can do it using JavaScript executor is, so the same method is will be same, execute script. Because execute script is the method which will actually execute the script which we pass it to it as a parameter, right? So execute script will take two parameters. The second parameter is optional, providing the arguments, but it will accept at least one parameter. So the first parameter, which is the actual script we wanted to execute on the browser. So if you see, I'm writing a script called the return arguments of 0 dot value. So what is this arguments of 0 is? So this indicates the index. So whatever you are passing it as a first argument here. So that will be passed to this arguments of 0, right? So say for example, I'll have it something arguments of 1. So in that case, it will look for this field, right? So say for example, this could be my next field like this, right? So this will be treated as this argument for this, right? And so on. So in this case, I have only one argument, right? So I will just say arguments of 0 dot value. So what is this argument? So I am passing what the argument is. So input field. So parameter or argument, both are same. You can just, yeah, think it of like that, right? So argument is like a parameter. So I am passing this input field as a argument to it, right? So this will be replaced with the input field. So return input field dot value. What is input field? We got it here. So it's a first name field. So that we are actually getting the value of it, right? So value is the actual inner text. So if you see here, yeah, it has value attribute itself, right? So this is the one. So name is attribute, ID is attribute, right? So input, it's an input field. It has name, ID, and also value. So this value we wanted to retrieve. So we are retrieving it using the JavaScript like this, right? Return arguments of 0 dot value. We need to uh, tell tell the script what this argument is. We are telling it here. We're passing it as a second parameter, input field, right? So this will be replaced with input field, return input field dot value. Input field is first name. So whatever the value of it is, right? It is John in this case, so it has to return that. So as it is returning string in this case, so if you see execute script is actually returning object, right? It is returning object type. So you have to typecast it. So if you see, when I say string and capture that into a value, so it will just say add cache to string because execute script is returning object. So we need to typecast it to string. As we know, this will return string. This return arguments value will return string. So we need to typecast it to string. All right. Now we can display this in the console. Input field value is like this, we can say. I'm executing it now. So it has to navigate to that particular URL and then use the JavaScript to return the or to fetch the first name value. Whatever is the pre-populated value for the first name input field, that has to be retrieved and displayed on the console. Yeah, it's done. Now you can go back and you can see input field value is John, right? So that's a pre-populated value, right? Now I wanted to set the value. So that is, I wanted to modify the value. So how do we do that? Again, I wanted to use JavaScript for this. So execute script and then what's the value? So how do we actually set it? We have to write the script for it, right? Argument of 0 dot value equal to, I'm setting some value to it. Say, for example, I wanted to change it to something else. I wanted to change it to Smith. So I'm doing that. And you should not forget to actually put the semicolon here. Even here it was required, but we missed it. It worked. But most of the time, you should actually provide the semicolon as well, just to say that that's one complete statement, right? We have to specify this delimiter as a semicolon. All right. Now, what do we do? Earlier, we returned this. Returning is reading the value. Now we are setting the value. So we are setting the value by passing, by actually retrieving this value, arguments of 0 dot value equal to Smith, right? So, and then we have to provide the argument here. What's the argument? So whenever we say arguments of 0, so you can have n number of arguments specified in your script, but you need to specify it here. Like you have to provide it, like input field here is the indicating argument of 0, right? So in the same way, you can have argument of 1, argument of 2 used in your script here within this double quotes as a first parameter. But that you have to specify it here. Semicolon, like you can have a number of arguments mentioned here. So actually each argument will be treated as like is represented with one index here. So the first one will be called as argument 0, right? So when we use return, we are reading the value, but when you wanted to set the value, we are setting it like this. I want argument of 0. What is argument of 0? It's input field. Input field dot value. I wanted to set it as Smith is what we are saying here, right? Now let us see. Yeah, you can see it opens the URL. It has to maximize the window and read the value, existing value, and also set a new value. Yeah, we have set a new value, Smith, right? You can see that clearly. All right. Now, yeah, this is about getting and setting the value of an input field, right? Now, what we'll do is, let me comment this out for now. And then we'll see how to interact with how to, use JavaScript to actually click on a button. We'll see that now. For that, we'll take a new URL. So you can see how to toggle hide and show, right? So toggling is like, it's a flag, on and off flag, right? So if you see here, I wanted to click on this button, just this button. So if I click on this toggle hide and show, so the button is hidden. See, hide and show. With one click, it will show. When I click it again, it is hidden, right? So say for some reason, I'm not able to actually interact with this, or I'm not able to click this button using a WebDriver click method, right? So in that case, how do you actually click on this toggle button? So we definitely need to use the JavaScript for that, right? So how do you use it? We'll see that now. So inspect this element, toggle button. Driver.find element, it is by.xpath. And we'll just call it as toggle button. We just wanted to use click method, right? So this is a toggle button. Now we wanted to execute JavaScript. Using JavaScript, we wanted to click on this button. Say, for example, this button was like intercepted by some other or overlapped with some other web element, and we are not able to click on that button. In that case, how do we use JavaScript executor to click on that button? That we are going to see now. So using the same, so once you declare this JavaScript executor reference variable, right? So you can perform n number of operations on it. So now I'm performing another operation. In fact, we commented it out. So even though if you do not comment this out, so this will work. That's my point. Excuse me. So execute script. Excuse me. Bad cold. Yeah, you can see execute script here, and then we'll pass arguments of 0 dot click. Again, here also we have a method called click. So as how we had WebDriver click method, so you need to notice the difference. So this is not the same click method as of WebDriver, right? So this is a different method. This is the click method of JavaScript, not the WebDriver. So arguments of 0 dot click is the operation we wanted to perform. Excuse me. And then we need to pass the argument. So what's the argument? Button. So the button which we wanted to actually click on it. Give me a minute. All right. So arguments of 0 dot click, right? So arguments of 0. So we have to pass the argument. So as we are saying argument of 0, so we need at least pass one argument, one parameter here. I'm passing toggle button, the button which you wanted to click on, right? So if you observe, so this argument will be replaced with this toggle button dot click, right? So again, we are using the same click method, but you should not get confused with this click. This click is different. Click method is different to that of the WebDriver click, right? So the coincidence is even JavaScript has the same method called click, right? All right. No, what we'll do is like, yeah, that's it. So this has to actually click on the button, right? So we'll see that in action now. So once we navigate to this page, so we'll get this page, this button. So once we click on it, so that will be hidden, right? So that we wanted to see now. So let's execute it. Simple. Till now, like in the first example, we have seen how to interact with the input field using JavaScript, right? So now we are seeing how to actually interact with a button. Like how do we click on a button using JavaScript, right? Why it is navigated to this URL. Okay, I think we didn't comment this out. We can comment this out as well. Next time it will not navigate to this URL. It will navigate directly to the toggle button URL. Oh, we didn't even navigate it to that. Okay, driver dot get of this URL, right? The URL which you have seen for the toggle button. This one. We'll navigate to this and then we'll find the element toggle button and we are using JavaScript to click on that button. Only 3 statements. Yeah, it is taking long time. Okay, no such element. ID equal to F name. Oh no. Okay. You can comment this out as well. Yeah, you can see the button is visible, right? Click the button. So if you click, it should click on toggle hide and show button, and that will be gone, right? It will be hidden. Yeah, see, it clicked on the button and you don't see that button, big button below that, right? So it was successfully able to click on the button. So this is how you can actually use JavaScript to click on a button. All right. So this is click an element using JavaScript. So we have seen how to, read the value from an input field and how to set the value for an input field using JavaScript. And also we have seen how to click a button. So in the same way, you can try for radio button and checkbox using the JavaScript, right? So this we have seen. Now we will see how to actually, this is the main use case, right? So how to, you know, make a hidden element visible and interact with it. That we are going to see now. So what's the hidden element here? So if you observe, let me go back. So if you see here, we have toggle hide and show button, right? So if you inspect this element. So if you see here, this is the element button on click, right? So you can see toggle hide and show. Below that, we have something called div ID equal to my div. You can see click the button also, right? So this one. So when I highlight this, nothing is shown on the web page. So this is what we call it as hidden element. But it is still there. It is there on the web page, right? How do you interact with that element which is hidden? Using the Selenium WebDriver, you can't, right? So only the visible items on the visible elements on the web page can be interacted with using Selenium WebDriver. Now, if you see here, there is one div ID. There is something called my div. It has something style equal to style attribute and click the button. This is the label for it. You don't see that on the web page, right? But it is still present on the web page, but it is hidden. So that you can know it using here, right? The style attribute says display none here, right? So if you can actually make this display something like, block, then you can see that. See, you are able to see that, right? Click the button. So as the display was none, you are not able to see it. When I say none, that is hidden, right? So when you click on this button, that is hidden. So that's what we call it as hidden element. The hidden element, it will not be displayed it will not be visible on the web page, but it is still there on the web page. So this is the reason we call it as a hidden element, right? So for that, so how do we actually make that hidden is? So this is the value of the attribute. So there is something called style where you will mention the value of it as display none. So this is all like script, right? So how you actually make a web element hidden, right? Again, if you wanted to make that hidden element visible, so you need to set this display to block, then it will be visible. But how do we actually make this, property of style to block using WebDriver? We can't make it. So in this case, we will use a JavaScript again. So we'll use JavaScript executor to actually set this display to block so that this element will be visible for us. Then we can interact with this web element, right? So now let's try to automate it. So if you see, this is a relay text path of this hidden element. Now, once you click on this button, so the element will be hidden, right? So we will first find the element by dot XPath. What is this? This is a hidden element, right? This is a hidden element. All right. Now this hidden element, we have captured it, right? So when you click on this button, so this will be the status of the web page right now, right? And we got this element, my do element, which is a hidden element, right? So how, and now we wanted to make this style display equal to none to block, right? So how we can do it is in JavaScript. So only then the element will be visible, right? If only if the element is visible, we can interact with it, right? So for that, we'll use JavaScript dot JS dot execute script. We have to pass the script here. So observe now, arguments of 0 again, dot. We wanted to set something on the style, right? Style dot display equal to block is what we'll say. Style dot display equal to block. So that's what we did, right? Even manually, how did we do? Style equal to display none. It was like this. So we wanted to set it to style display block. Then it was visible. So the same one, I'm doing it here in the JavaScript using JavaScript executor. I'm passing the script arguments of 0 dot style dot display equal to block. And what's the argument on which web element we need to do this for the hidden element is what we need to specify. This is the argument of 0, right? So now the element will be visible. So you have to end with a semicolon. Now that will be visible, right? So once it is visible, I wanted to pass the change the value of it. That is, it has click the button, right? So you can see here, this div, it has something called click the button. This is the label, right? So I wanted to modify this value. So how can I modify the value? Say, for example, I wanted to set it as something, some Selenium, right? When I click on this, so this text, this inner text, right? So within the div tag, this is called inner text. We have seen this, right? I wanted to change that to some other value, right? So then how do we do it? So again, like we can use the JavaScript for that as well. So we wanted to make a hidden element visible and interact with it. And now we wanted to interact with the visible hidden element that we are doing. Interact with the now visible hidden element. So again, like we use execute script, JavaScript, JS.executeScript, arguments, arguments of 0, dot. This is the inner text. Now we are setting the inner text of it, right? Inner text. You can just say this is a newly set text, right? Semicolon. What's the argument? Argument is hidden element, right? So what did we do here? The element was, so using this toggle button, when we clicked on it, the element gone invisible, right? So the element is hidden. So now to make it visible on the web page, so we found the element, we identified the element, and we are executing some script here. So this is the script of it. So you just need to understand this arguments of 0. So we are arguments of 0 is simple, which the element we are specifying. And this script, right? Style dot display equal to block. When we write this script, the element will be visible on the web page. Now, as the element, hidden element is visible, so we wanted to change the text of it. So we are changing the text of it, inner text of it. So dot inner text, we are modifying the text of it. That's it. So after clicking on the toggle button, I'll add some wait time here. Yeah, you can see it should click on the toggle hide and show button. Then the button goes, click the button, click the button goes hidden or invisible. Then again, we are using JavaScript to make it visible. And then we are setting a new text to it. So this is the, yeah, you can see that went invisible, right? Now, yeah, it is visible again. And the text has also been set. This is a newly set text, right? So these are the scenarios where like JavaScript executor will be handy, right? So like, so you can consider this as the main use case. So even these are the use cases like, interacting with the input fields, radio buttons, checkboxes, the buttons, right? So using click method, wherever you can use click method, right? So in this place also we can use JavaScript only when we have a issue with those interacting with those elements using Selenium WebDriver, you can use the JavaScript in these cases. But when you have some hidden elements, you have no other alternate except using the JavaScript, right? So when you wanted to interact with the hidden elements, you will use the JavaScript executor, definitely, right? And this is the script for it, style.display equal to block, right? So this is about the JavaScript executor, like how to interact with the web elements using JavaScript, right? Is that clear? We'll see another use case if this is clear. All right. So now let's see another use case of scrolling, scrolling page. So what is scrolling page? So let me give you an example. So not all the time, like the whole content of, the content can be fit in one web page, right? So it could extend to more number of pages, or it could occupy more space than what is displayed within this web page, what is visible in it, right? So this is all one web page, but if you see, it has more content, and you can read the more content on the web page. So only when you scroll. So there is a vertical scroll bar here. So you can put your mouse on that, and you can just bring it down. You can click it down, then you can see the whole content of it, right? So it is loading still, right? So on demand it is loading. This is called lazy loading. So like this, there's a lot of content in this web page, right? So in order to read that content, you have to scroll this using the scroll bar, and this scroll bar is not part of web elements, right? So you can't inspect it. Say for example, I right click on this and do this one, right? So I can't hover on this scroll bar. So it's not part of the web page. See, it's separate. You can't inspect that scroll bar. So in that case, so how do you actually scroll this to view the content? So even in this case, we'll use the JavaScript, right? In this case also, we'll use JavaScript to actually scroll the page. So let's see how to interact, how to, use JavaScript executor to scroll the page. We'll create a WebDriver instance, right? And then driver.get, we'll pass the URL. What's the URL? This is the URL. So we wanted to maximize the window. So driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. All right. So now, yeah, we navigated, we maximize it. Now what we wanted to do, we wanted to scroll, right? So how do you actually scroll it? So using the JavaScript executor is what we said, right? So we'll create a JavaScript object. JavaScript executor JS equal to driver. You have to typecast it. Now using this JavaScript executor variable, reference variable, use a method called executeScript, right? So what's the script we are gonna pass now? Yeah. So we'll say, so observe now, window dot scroll by, and you need to specify the coordinates, x and y coordinates. So if you remember in the last session, we have discussed this. So what are coordinates, right? So if you see, this is x and this is y coordinate, right? So this is y, this is x. So this is a vertical bar. This is a vertical bar, vertical scroll bar. So x will be fixed. So x will be fixed always. Only y changes. So if you wanted to scroll down, so you'll increase it. You'll increase the value in this case, in our case, right? So if you wanted to go up, you will decrease the value, right? So that's a y-axis, and x-axis will not change because it's a vertical bar, right? So using this concept, you need to provide the coordinates correctly, right? So 0, comma, say for example, I will provide some value to the y-axis. So I wanted to scroll by, so x will be 0. I don't want it to move x. Anyway, I can't move it because it's a vertical bar, right? Vertical scroll bar. So I wanted to move my y by 1000. So 1000 pixels, it has to scroll, right? So you can provide any value here, right? So I wanted to scroll by 1000. Right? I'm not providing any arguments here, right? So I don't need to use any arguments here. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to just scroll by 1000 pixels down. So why we are providing only y coordinate here? Y x is 0. This is vertical scroll bar. So you can only scroll top to bottom. From if it is top, you can scroll to bottom. From bottom to top, you can scroll it like that, right? So I'm providing some value here so that it will scroll down some 1000 pixels, right? That we wanted to see. So we can see that now. Yeah, see, it actually crossed it, right? It was like this before. So we wanted to scroll some 1000 pixels. So it actually scrolled till here like this. So you can, if you can increase this, so it will scroll more, right? So if you put it 1500, 2000, it will scroll more like that, right? All right. So this is one use case. Like you can scroll the scroll bar using this script, window dot scroll by, and then you need to specify the coordinates, x and y coordinates, how many pixels it has to scroll down, right? So this is one example. Now, once it scrolls down, say for example, I wanted to use something like, uh, so I wanted to scroll till some point. So that point I wanted to mention it as, so whatever I view, right? So say for example, I view something like this one, right? Or till here at this point, I wanted to. So when this is viewed, till if this logo, so this is logo. So when this is viewed, so till that point I wanted to scroll down. So in that case, how can we actually scroll, right? So say for example, till here. I wanted to inspect. Then you can take this, you can inspect this element, and you can say driver.find element. This is a logo, right? So you can just say logo and then use a JavaScript. So we'll use JavaScript to actually move the scroll bar till this logo is visible. Arguments of 0 dot scroll into view is a method. Scroll into view is a method which we'll use. and we'll pass logo as the argument to it. So meaning, what's the meaning of this is, so we wanted to scroll anyway, right? So these two lines, what does it mean is, so this is logo, right? So logo of some text with some text, right? So this script, what it does is arguments of 0 dot scroll into you. What is arguments of 0? Logo. So till this logo is visible, scroll it. So when you are able to view it, just stop it. Just stop scrolling is what you are saying. Scroll into view logo. So till that logo is visible, scroll is what we are saying using this script, right? And once it is scrolled into that view, right? So how do we actually know the y coordinate? So we wanted to know the y offset. So after it is scrolled, after that logo is visible. So for that, what we can do is I wanted to return that. I wanted to read that. So in that case, we can use read return window dot page y offset. Here also you need to specify the semicolon, right? So which actually gives you, like it has to actually scroll down, right? So it will scroll down till this web element is visible or it is into its view, right? Scroll into view is, it will scroll till this logo is visible on the web page, right? So that's what this script does. So after that, we are just for our understanding, right? So we are actually here we don't have any argument, so we don't need to specify it. So we wanted to see the page y offset, y coordinate after this element is visible, right? So we are displaying it on the console. Let's see now. So if you wanted to move by some pixels, you can directly specify it using the y coordinate. But if you wanted to specify the scroll bar based on some web element, still some, if you wanted to scroll down, see, it actually gives you the y offset. First, it will actually move 1000 and then till logo is visible on the web page. So it has moved some 292 points still, 292 units or 292 dimensions, 292 pixels, I guess. 292 pixels is what we need to call it as. It scrolled till 292 pixels still. And then it is written. So when we say return, so it has written the y offset. This is the value of it, right? Now, say for example, we wanted to scroll to the bottom of the page. Or, yeah, we can say scroll till bottom of the page. So how do we write the JavaScript for that? So window dot scroll to, we'll say scroll to, and then 0 comma till where you wanted to scroll the page. You wanted to go till the end of the web page. So in that case, document dot body dot scroll height. Again, here you don't need to pass any arguments here. So only when you say arguments of 0, when you are interacting with some web element, then you will pass the arguments of 0 and then you will pass the actual argument to it, the web element, right? But here we are not interacting with any web element. We are actually working on the scroll bar directly. We are writing the script, JavaScript, to actually interact the scroll bar, right? Window dot scroll to. Where it has to scroll to? Scroll height. Scroll height is the height of the scroll bar, like the complete content of the web page, right? So even this is scroll bar, see, like that. So till the end of the document, we call, how do we get that end of the document is using the scroll height. Document dot body dot scroll height. So till that we wanted to scroll it, right? So let us see that now. Yeah, you can see it. It actually scrolled till 2A RGB schemes logo, right? So like this. So it did not, so it has to actually come till down. But if you see, it is loading very slowly, right? But script is very fast that the scroll bar was not, able to scroll till the end. So it was loading slowly, right? So the script was so fast that it actually tried to scroll it once. It scrolled till the end of the page like this. Say for example, it was like this, right? So it just scrolled like this once till the end of the page like this, right? And then it returned. So this is the reason it was not able to come till the end of the page, right? So in order to get the come to scroll end of the page, maybe you have to loop this statement. You have to loop this statement, right? So that it will actually loop through it. It will come till the end of the page by adding some wait time, right? All right. Now, if I wanted to go back to the beginning of the page. So how do we go back? So JavaScript dot execute script. I'll just copy this same line. We wanted to scroll back to the top of the page. So in that case, we can either use minus here. That is till whatever height it has actually scrolled down. We are just minusing it. We are just subtracting it. So it will become 0, right? In that case. So you can even specify 0 here to scroll back to the top of the page. So I'll add some wait time here of 5 seconds. We'll see that after scrolling down, it has to scroll back again. Scroll back to the top. In each case, if you wanted to print the y offset, you can just have the statement copied here after each execute script. So this is all about how you actually scroll the page. See, it has scrolled, right? And then, yeah, it has to scroll back after 5 seconds. JavaScript error missing. Yeah, we missed this. See, it is saying that. We missed the closing brace and a semicolon. So it was giving that hint there. Yeah, and it scrolls back to the beginning of the page, right? Yeah, so this is how you can actually automate the scroll page, or this is how you handle the scroll page using JavaScript executor. And here it is mandatory, right? So you can't actually, there is no method to handle there is no WebDriver method to handle the scroll bar because it is out of the context, like out of the context of the web page scroll bar, right? So at Selenium can only interact with the web elements present on the web page. So in this case, we don't have any other alternate. We have to use the JavaScript executor to handle the scroll bar, right? All right. So is that clear? All right. Now we'll see another one. Like it is not related to JavaScript executor, but a different concept. File upload. So how do you upload a file? So in some cases, we wanted to upload the file. So you need to upload some files, right? So how do we actually upload those files? How do we actually automate those actions? So for that, let's take an example. So here, if you see upload files, right? So here I can provide one file. Say for example, I can provide some file, Selenium, automation, file 1 and file 2. Here I have file 1, for example, Selenium, automation file, right? File 1 has some text. This is file 1. Okay. This is file 2. I have two files, two text files here, and I wanted to upload them into this website. Say for example, choose file. I need to choose file and then click on file1.txt, right? So then it is uploaded. So you can even validate if the file chosen is right one or not by actually having it here, right? So the file is displayed here as well as that's the one it is showing the file which is uploaded, right? And files you selected, here you have a label. So you can even validate it like this. But how do you even click this? You don't even need to click on this choose files because so if you right click on this and go to inspect, so if you see here, this is input type. So even though it is saying even though it is, it is shown as like, it is visible, it is displayed as a button. So if you see, it's an input type equal to 5. So input type equal to 5. In the sense, it will actually take the file as an input. But if you see, it's an input, right? So as it is an input, you can even provide it using the sendKeys as well, right? So you can even provide this file1.txt as a sendKeys using the sendKeys as well. It's an input, right? So now, how do we actually provide it? So first, we need to locate the element. So even before that, let's create an example. Let's create a new class. I'll call it as file upload. I wanted to upload a file, right? So this is about single file upload. We'll also see how to upload multiple files. First, we'll see single file upload. How do we actually upload a single file, right? Driver dot find element y dot xpath. You can take this ID. Files dot upload. I'll have this web element stored. All right, now we'll use this web element, right? Upload dot send keys, and we just need to pass the location of the file. So what's the location of the file? This one, right? File one. So how do you upload a file? So it has to be placed on, it has to be present on your disk first. So then you can choose that file on your disk when you wanted to upload a file, right? So here it's an input, right? So you can directly provide it using the send case. So using send case, what we need to provide? We need to provide the file path, complete file path, absolute file path. So for that, yeah, I'm just getting the full file path, right? Absolute file path of this file, which I wanted to upload. So for that, you can hold shift and then right click on your file so that you get an option called copy as path. So you only get this option when you hold your shift key. If you just right click on your file, you will not get that copy as path, right? So only if you hold your shift key and right click on the file, you see this copy as path. All right. So once you get this copy as this path of this file, we'll just put it here like this, right? So this is the file path we are providing, right? And once you provide this, so it will be uploaded. So how do you validate that if it is uploaded or not, right? So for that, if you see, So if I provide this file, then it is saying file1.txt, right? So with this you can actually validate if it is uploaded correctly or not, right? So this is not the one. Oh, we are already in selector, sir. All right. If you see here, it is unordered list, and underneath it we have li, right? Yeah, you can take this one element matching / li is what we call, so that we get this label, right? All right. So let's get this. We just wanted to validate whether the file which we uploaded is the right one or not. Dot get text, right? And also, yeah, you can just say dot get text, and we'll have this displayed on the console. All right, what did we do here? We wanted to upload files. We wanted to automate something called uploading files using Selenium, right? So if you observe, so you don't need to click on this button and all, right? So it's an input. You can directly provide the input. So how do you provide the input? Using the sendKeys. So using the sendKeys, if you can provide the complete file path, so that file can be treated as the file to be uploaded, and that file can be uploaded, right? So once the file is uploaded in this website, so it is giving us, see, if no file is uploaded, it will just say no file selected. But if you select some file here, a file2, it will just give you the label, the file which was uploaded, file2.txt, right? So this label, we are validating it, or we just wanted to display it on the console. So that's what we did, right? This we are doing it for file one file, single upload we are verifying. Yeah, you can see file1, right? So the default one is no file selected, like this. When it is selected, it will display the name of the file which was uploaded, right? So this is how you can actually upload a single file. Now, how do you actually upload multiple files? I wanted to upload multiple files. Again, like we can use the same one, same website, and then you can pass two parameters here, two files. If you select two files, then it will actually display the files you selected, the names of the files here, right? Now, for this, how do you automate it? So if you can go back to your code, and then we wanted to actually pass two files. So how we pass this? If it was single file, we can give the path of it, right? Path of absolute path or full path of the file to be uploaded. So we wanted to upload multiple files here. So how do we actually pass the two files? So in this case, what we can do is you can actually use the same one. Upload is the web element dot sendKeys, and then you can pass two file names separated by /n. This is my first file name. It will add. So if you observe, it will add some one extra backslash. This is just to escape it. So just to escape this double backslash, it added one more backslash. So don't get confused with that. And now I wanted to upload two files. So you can upload two files, multiple files with a delimiter as /n here. This is file 2. Like this, you can upload n number of files in this way, right? Now, if you pass more than one file, so if you see here, this UL has two LIs in it, file 1 and file 2, right? So in earlier case, when we clicked on it, it has shown one element matching. It is showing two elements matching now as we uploaded two files, right? Like this, if you upload n number of files, it will show n elements matching. So this will actually give you the number of elements, number of files uploaded, right? Number of files uploaded, right? So for that, what we can do is driver dot find elements. Just to confirm how many files has been uploaded, we can pass this XPath here. Find elements dot size. This actually gives you the number of files. Number of files uploaded. You can just print it on the number, right? So what did we do here? Single is fine for us, right? So single, you can just comment it out for now. Single file. Now we wanted to upload multiple files. So for that, we need to just separate it with /n, right? /n represents new line. So like this, you can actually pass n number of files to upload, right? And just for our confirmation, we are displaying the size, number of files uploaded, right? Yeah, this time you can see two files uploaded, file1.txt, file2.txt, right? And you can even see the size here, right? So number of files uploaded, the size of the number of files, right? Number of files uploaded. You can put it something like this for better readability, right? And if you wanted to add validations, you can add it. Like if number of files uploaded is equal to 2, right? Then you can say all files uploaded, or else only some files are missing, like that. You can add some validations here. Add validations for file uploads. Or you can even validate the file names as well. So if you see here, you do get these labels, right? So you can even validate those file names as well, right? You can add that code here if you want. So this is how we actually upload the files using Selenium. So in some cases, like we can use other third-party libraries like uh, robot class and all others we used to use earlier, but now you can directly use the sendKeys method to actually upload the file. You can directly use the sendKeys method to pass it as a string. So only thing you need to remember is you need to pass the complete path of the file to upload the file. And if you have multiple files to be uploaded, you need to pass it using, you can pass multiple files, but with a delimiter as /n. You can have it as complete one string here. Just for readability, I have given it like this. Right? So this is how we actually upload the files, single file and multiple files. Right? Any questions? Is that clear? So we use execute script to execute the JavaScript statements using JavaScript executor. So in this session, we have seen like JavaScript executor, the need of JavaScript executor, why we need JavaScript executor, and we have seen like the method of JavaScript executor called executeScript, how we can use, and we have seen the use cases right? So we have seen the use cases of hidden element, right? How to interact with hidden element and scrolling page. How do you scroll the page, right? We have seen some use cases why for JavaScript executor, and we have seen how to upload a file, single file and multiple files using Selenium. So that's all for this session. If you have any questions, you can put it on the chat. Hope it is clear. So if you have no other questions, then we can wrap up this session and we'll meet in the next session.